Hello and welcome to the new 5 year hiatus is now over season 6, episode 1 of the one and only news podcast since 2015. We took 5 years off and now we're back. Chuck Stew Show. And with me, as always, the same man, the same myth, the same legend. He was my doctor, now he's my doctor again. Not sure if he's still really the doctor of thugonomics. He's been curing cancer left and right all around the world, but the sponsors are really making it hard for him. Give it up for Dr. HB. Take it away. You know what's kind of strange? Dr. Book is that Joe Biden is, and let me just tell the people out there, for season 6, episode 1, we are going to be talking about Joe Biden for this episode. He is the 40 something president of the United States. I'm not really sure if anybody cares about him, especially after that leak that happened yesterday when he was at some conference with the president of the Ukraine. Did you know this man has a woman's middle name? Did you know that, Dr. B? Yeah, I can completely understand that. I can completely understand. I mean, what else are we supposed to talk about on this subject other than just extreme, extremely failed, extreme failure? It's pretty much clear cut across the board. There's several different types of. And supposedly he was in a war zone without a war happening in it. They were playing the sirens. That what's his name, Zelensky was there. I mean, Russia, just last Sunday, had sent one of their large warships off in the Atlantic Ocean that's not off the coast of Florida, but it was farther out and supposedly had a it had a nuke on it. I mean, we're getting fed all this PC bullshit all throughout the mainstream media, just as always. As it's just like when a church brings up like pastors of people who don't know about Christianity, and people say, "Oh yeah, that guy Joel Olstein, he's Christianity." Oh, that guy T.D. Jakes, that. Oh yeah, that. Okay, I know what Christianity is. That's. I'm assuming that's like a lot of outsiders or the people who just don't want to look at the truth. They say, "Oh yeah, here's MSNBC, here's CNN with their what 6,000 viewers for whatever show comes on." I mean, they're AM talk radio shows that get more views and more listeners than like what they get on NBC and whatnot. I mean, it's just a dead meme at this point. It's a completely dead subject. Uh, the thing was is that he gave the speech and he was on a hot mic. The man's 80. He has dementia and Alzheimer's most likely. It's just this whole big Jewish cabal that's going around that connects back to the Kemetic mystery school system when magicians would throw down the staffs and the staff would turn into a cobra back in the book of Exodus. This is the people that we're dealing with here. Okay, we're dealing with the magi, the dark magicians, and I mean the cabal. I mean, he's a flesh and blood android. That's all Joe Biden really is. I mean, he was caught on a hot mic saying, "Oh, you think they're going to believe that bullshit?" And his aide said, "Totally." I mean, what's your opinion on these? The president. This is the second time he's been caught on a hot mic, and for some reason, there hasn't been a group that has came up and slayed him and slayed the people in the United States government. We can't stand these people. We can't trust them. They're most likely pedophiles. Like, what are we supposed to do with this? I'm getting a video right now on my source on Twitter, and Dr. Pearl's Houston book. I know we have talked about marijuana, which is the episode I listened to, and I know you have listened to it too. The last week, going over the old episodes of the Chuck Stew show, and also we haven't done an episode on the fentanyl crisis and the opioids crisis and pretty much all the scripts that have been written out by the doctors, even though it has lessened within the last couple of years. I just saw a video from one of my sources on Twitter of on Air Force One, the President Joe Biden has literally fell down the entire flight of steps, and the cameraman was not able to get a close-up view because they were blocking it, just like when, what's her name? The Empress Lizard Reptilian, known as Hillary Clinton, when she was at the 9/11 memorial, and the Secret Service were kicking her feet and kicking her shoes off to try to force her into the van because she collapsed. What I personally believe is that she died, and she is in a place of darkness and chains, in a place of weeping and gnashing of teeth in the afterlife, because her soul is going to be eternally damned. And what we have on our hands is a clone. The woman who presents herself as Hillary Clinton is not her. So the president, now for the second time, has just fell down a flight of stairs. I mean, do we have a new Gerald Ford here, Dr. Book? And just really quick before we go to commercial break, Dr. Book, what is your opinion on? Yeah, I'm surprised actually that Bernie Sanders is still alive. His run for the presidency. Do you think that if he chooses to run, that he's going to have a good chance of beating Trump to the presidency in 2024? Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, for the Chuck Stewie and race, we will be right back. My name is Chuck Stew, and if there's one thing I like, it is stand-up comedy. And if you are tired of the corporate boo bullshit that is spread all throughout Tucson, with the laugh scene especially, then I would suggest a place that is run by Corey Light himself. Yes, the man that is making moves. That is the House of Barbs. Every Tuesday night from 7 to 10 p.m., go there to see live stand-up comedy at 4915 East Speedway Boulevard, Tucson, Arizona 85712, and get your laugh on. I need you to have a seat for a second because I need to talk to you about this new game that has just come out for the Switch. And that's right, it is a PSO RPG, and you already know what I'm talking about, the digital or the other digital release of the deluxe edition of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion Edition. All of the characters from every single game are all coming together to take on, you guessed it, Sephiroth. He's at it again, and he's trying to poison the planet, and it's going to take all 50 characters to stop him. Do you have what it takes? Welcome everybody back to the Chuck Stew Show, and I may be running on a little bit of low energy, but I am working 2 full-time jobs, and I have just turned 57 years old, so you're going to have to bear with me here. But you know who else is older and even more demented and insane? That's right, our president, Joe Biden. And from what I have here on the NBC News is that in Poland, Biden aims to push back on Putin, blaming the West for the Ukraine war. And I believe this is the one where he was caught on a hot mic. But let's all play along with what he is saying, because they're going to push a certain narrative, and the narrative is just going to be going that way, even though it actually, this article by Peter Nicholas and Kristen Welker, so unbeknownst to me, I didn't know to write 2 paragraphs that consists of a news post nowadays. It takes 2 fucking editors and 2 fucking writers. Okay, little confusing to me, but Joe Biden demonstrated a personal commitment to Ukraine's survival. Let me just tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. When it's talked about with the word survival, because he's already been caught on a hot mic lying, like profusely. He's already been caught lying multiple times. This man is truly, truly evil. He is truly, truly a wicked person. This man, when he says survival for Ukraine, it's because a lot of the child sex trafficking rings, other than coming out of Haiti, have also have eyewitness accounts to have also coming out of Ukraine. So not only are they funneling drug money and whatnot through the Wayfair company, not only are they trafficking drugs, trafficking fentanyl, trafficking multiple different sources of basically anything that's like an illegal activity that has been coming out of there, funneling money mostly, but they are also funneling children for the child sex trade. Make no mistake about this, Joe Biden's a satanic piece of shit. Kamala Harris is an even bigger satanic piece of shit. All these people are this what you saw at the Super Bowl with Rihanna playing out the whole like ritual of the mother goddess giving life to all forms on the planet. It says in the book of Revelation that is a reference to the whore of Babylon, and her ass is going to be set on fire, and the smoke is going to be so much that it's going to cover the entire earth from her burning ashes, and also the prophets. So Rihanna, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, anybody that's associated with these Eyes Wide Shut parties. And if you haven't seen the movie with Tom Cruise, and I forgot the woman, maybe it was Nicole Kidman, go ahead and check that out, which is what caused Stanley Kubrick's demise, was him putting out that film about what really is happening behind closed doors. But when Joe Biden talks about the survival, he's talking about the survival of his own child sex trade. That's the word survival. That is the context for that word in this NBC News article. But let's just humor him. It says right here, in quote, a presidential speech matters. Though, no, with him, it really fucking doesn't. And Biden's will celebrate the resilience of a small democratic state facing a bigger autocracy. I can't pronounce that word. Bent on expansion. Administration officials say, speaking in the gardens of the Royal Castle at Warsaw, Biden will also proclaim that as the war enters the second year, The U.S. and its allies remain unified in their support for Ukraine's effort to beat back the Russian invasion. Okay, so I'm not saying that I'm not saying on the Chuck Sue show, and I don't know about how the doctor feels about this, but I'm not a loyalist. I'm not saying yay or nay to being for the Axis powers in 2023. Okay? We were never pro-Russian before. I'm not necessarily pro-Russian now. Putin, if you look at the track record, he was an officer of the KGB. The man is still the president, even though they're supposed to have Democratic-run elections over there, when that is clearly not the case. The man is a butcher, so we have to keep that in mind, okay? I don't even know if Joe Biden's a butcher or not. I can't tell. I mean, I'm sure he, like him and John Podesta and Tony Podesta, I'm sure they butcher children, like behind the scenes in their nasty showers at the ping pong pizza place. I'm sure about that. But for Putin, for his Russian Orthodox state, I mean, there's a thing about, like, what's his name? Royce White, a man that I follow who is a normal guest on the show, what is that, Fearless with Jason Whitlock. He held up this shirt at this NBA game one time that I saw on Twitter, and that said something about, let's talk about the Uyghurs. Now, the Uyghurs are, yes, they are in a concentration camp, and multiple concentration camps in Russia, but these people, it's the same kind of thing with Guantanamo Bay here. These are Muslim extremists. I mean, and the whole thing about Muslims and being extremists and whatnot, is it all extremism? Is it no extremism? Glenn Beck has actually a really good show about that he put out a couple years ago on his podcast, where he brought in this guy that explains the history of the Quran, what it says in the Quran. He basically brought in a Muslim, like, theologian for their book. It was a really good episode. He explained it very well. He explained why it's so confusing to most people, even Muslims themselves, of why it's so incredibly oddly written, and to where it's very hard to understand the Quran, even for someone who's a seasoned vet. Chuck Stu is a seasoned vet like myself in reading. But anyways, let's continue with the articles. Quote unquote, his remarks will speak significantly to the conflict in Ukraine, but they will also speak to the larger contest between those aggressors who are trying to destroy fundamental principles and those democracies who are pulling together to try to uphold them. Excuse me, says Jake Sullivan, the White House's national secretary advisor, in a conference call with reporters Tuesday. You will hear in the speech, vintage Joe Biden, the president has believed passionately in the themes he will discuss that he discusses tonight for decades. Man, they are really, really trying to put this guy over. Speaking about Kiev and whatnot, this is just a fake. This war, here's my belief in this. Just stay out of it. This has nothing to do with us. This has nothing to do. Even though Russia and Putin has, also last Sunday I saw on TikTok that there was a clip of him where it was in English, like with subtitles, of basically Putin stating that he has declared war on NATO. So I want to get your opinions on this. Dr. Pearls used a book about NATO having them declare war on them, which basically means in turn declares war on America. Nothing really has happened yet. I know that the last U.S. embassy in Ukraine supposedly is going to be attacked. But it hasn't this was like a week ago, and this hasn't happened yet. I mean, today's Tuesday, February 21st of 2023, so really no word on that yet, but this is what we're going off of here, all right? This is what Chuck Stu, this is the best that you're going to get out of me. And in quote, that tells you everything you need to know about who is responsible for this war. Sullivan said, this war was a choice. Putin chose to fight it. Nope. Well, yes, he did choose to fight it, but what happened, from what you are not told, is that when Putin declared war, it was because that he tried to speak to our United States government officials on 3 separate occasions to set up meetings and told us stop expanding NATO. And What happened was is that Trump was willing to listen and they came to an agreement. But when Joe Biden came into office, him and Kamala Harris were purposely pushing war. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it has to do with the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing and his old girlfriend, those perverted pedophiles, and their dealings with the child sex ring that's still been going on right now to this day. That's still going on with these people, who are still making CP and whatnot. That it's just kind of convenient that Bill Gates and them had released the coronavirus throughout the whole world from that place in Wuhan in China. Another opinion I want to get from you, Dr. Book, about that, which is what I believe as to why the war is possibly going on and why so many people have died from the coronavirus. And that's just going to be a topic in itself on a whole different show, because we can cover that for actually a long period of time for that one. But we will be right back to the Chuck Stew Show.